you start off that way, and it happened to me twice now. But somebody came along and started teaching words like wiijiiwshin, and it means everybody left, but you stayed behind. And the other one was, well, I said, well, what about so and so? Where's he? He said, oh, we left without him knowing. Because they didn't want him coming along, because he stops and looks at everything when he's out and about. So he's always checking this out, and they're gone there. They're gone to go get something there and everything, and just get it and leave. So one guy stayed behind, and one guy got left behind. So there's just me, my cousin, and his driver that were along, and that's who I was talking to. So in those little words, I heard "shkri," and there was one word, "babimash," "gibagamash." Gibagamash means you've kind of came with the wind, and it came with the wind because that's how Shaganash came to this part of the world. Gibagamash. Gibagamash means, and then it changed to Shaganash from offshore. And so there's three words I heard just in 5 minutes that tells me about the unconscious competence, the words that I forget because they're so natural to me. But they are words that a person would like to learn, because it really beautifies your language. It describes something very, very sneaky in a sense, but it's not meant to hurt. It's just that you leave the guy behind because he's really bothersome when he tags along. Wants to stop and look at everything, admire this, admire that. And I know exactly what they were talking about because I'm usually always in a rush. And if somebody's tagging along and just looking at everything like that, I'll usually leave behind. Hoping that he'll learn a lesson. Because I got my ways of doing things too. Did you you were going to bring out your thing? Did you do your handout that you had the other day? Yeah, you. No.
Oh.
Right? I forgot it. Yeah. And I forgot. I don't know where it is now. I had it, and then I didn't know which car was in at first. I said, oh, I must have left it in the other car. When in the other car wasn't there either. So we could do it now if you like. Okay. All right. Okay. Did you want to do it now? Do it. Did you hand out those handouts to the other people? Oh, you didn't hand it out yet? I think you handed it out to everybody else. The handouts that you had. No, she didn't print them. Okay, all right. Okay, we'll just go on with the regular day and we'll talk about it afterwards. Okay. Yeah. Any comments or questions with anybody else? You see a couple of words in there that says Bbaa, Bbaa, Biidawishin, wiijiiwshin, wiijiiwenh, wiijiiwenh. They say Bbaa. Some Nishnabes, they always say pa. Kind of double the B. Instead of doubling the B, they say pa. Instead of saying Bbaa, they say pa. Bbaa means that you're going to meander around and you're going to take your time and you're eventually going to get to where you're going. Bbaa, that's what it means. Whip. When you say whip, instead of Bbaa, you say whip. Means that you already got a destination. You're just going to go right directly there and back. Bbaa means you're going to wander around and eventually get there and do what you're going to do and then leave. There's a big explanation of some of the words. Giga means the same thing, except you're saying it as a half just sort of thing. Wiijiiwshin, wiijiiwshin, wiijiiw, Gidaa, wiijiiw, no. Ninim, no. Can I go with you? Ninim, no. Wiijiiwshin, go with us. Wiijiiwshin. Come along and wander around like what we're going to do. Wiijiiwshin. Because the person that's driving is going to go and hang around and just meander around. So when you go with him, that's what you're going to be doing. You're going to be going here and then going there. There's a joke on most First Nations. When they get a guy to go with them somewhere, they usually say, "Oh, drive me there. I gotta go there now." Then after he goes there, he says, "Now I gotta go pick up something over there." And that's what they say. So anytime you put an Indian in the car, you never know where you're going to end up. And that's a joke inside. I don't know about we probably the same thing. Basically, almost the same language. Go through the list, we'll see all the words. Aninmawshin, bkitegaanhs. See that? Bkitegaanhs. Biidawishin, bkitegaanhs. Biidoon. Biidamawshin. Mjijimin. These are a little harder. These are adding on. About 5 different ways of saying bring it to me. Bring me. There's about 5 different ways. But you're still saying, in a way, you're still saying Biidoon. But you're saying different ways, and there's some ways that are more personal. There's some ways that is more polite. There's some ways where you're more in a hurry. Biidoon you. Biidamawshin means you've got time to take it, bring it with you as you come. nkwenmawshin. Bring it up for me on your way back. Bbaa wiijiiwshin. Remember, I was talking about the word wiijiiwenh. Comes from the same word wiijiiwshin. Comes from that same word. Travel with me on my return back to my home. Wiijiiwshin. So that's why you call someone that's your friend wiijiiwenh. You're actually saying wiijiiwenh, the person I'm going home with. That's what you say. And they've changed that word to wiijiiwenh. Some people forgot what it means and what it stands for, so they say wiijiiwenh. But it's still, in a sense, if you were in a different language, in a different community, wiijiiwenh would still eventually mean the person that go towards my home. Bbaa wiijiiwshin. You could say with those words that say Bbaa, you could say Bbaa wiijiiwshin. There's a little town in the other side of North Bay called Powassan. Somebody had thrown something that was all wet on a branch, and it dried in the wind. And on their way back, they picked up what they had hung on the branch, and it was already dried up, so they took it and took it home with them. As people wanted to know whereabouts something was, they'd say, "What the Powassan?" They named that place Powassan after the wind had dried whatever was hung on a branch. Powassan means it took its time drying in the wind. Powassan. There's a lot of words like that. Naanhg. There's a lake over here between Ramsey Lake and Whitefish Lake. There's a lake that's fairly big. They say in naanhg. Middle Lake. Any comments or questions? One of my family have kind of one of my fellow teachers took a look at my list. He said, "That's all you teach in one setting?" I said, "Yeah." He said, that's all I teach." And I said, "I'm sure they would all remember 10 words. They certainly wouldn't remember 20. And you do it slowly and you do a much better job. The origin of some of these words, what makes them, when you're more polite, when you're in a hurry, or you're more direct, the words change depending on the mood you're in, depending on how well you know the person you're talking to, how much of a rush you're in, how much of a rush that other person's in. Your mood changes and the way you speak changes. So somebody you've known for a long time, you would say something in a different way. You would never usually say when you're young, you would never say Aninmawshin. You would never say that to an older person. Nowadays you could, because they got most of the thing, but I still remember the etiquette of speaking to an older person. I'm pretty far up in age, 75, and I have yet ever to beat the horn at somebody that's in my way, driving slow. To me, it's impolite. It's impolite. I'm the one that's in a hurry, so I should figure out how to get around this person. And I usually do, but I shouldn't expect that person to get out of the way because it might be an old person. And or else it might be bigger than me. I usually will still stand up and when an older person, when an old person walks in the room, I will still stand up. Even though that person is younger than I am, but he's an old person. You get that old after a while. And a lot of times you still think, oh, gee, I'm still young, And you get stand up anyway. But there are certain ways that you familiarize yourself with someone, or you want to stay a stranger, so you act accordingly. I think we do that in English and other languages too. I know we do it in Pen and so forth. Any comments on that? Anything anybody wants to add? I was in sales for a while, so sometimes I'll ask a question, I'll wait for about 3 minutes. Somebody to answer. Yes.
The Bbaa.
Bbaa?
Yeah. Part of the Bbaa wiijiiwshin. The Bbaa and then the way it's used, is that that's the come with me, or is that the come with?
Come with me. It means come with me. Bbaa means we're going to meander around.
Oh, that's it.
You're going to be coming with me, but we're not in a hurry. The wiijiiwshin means you already know exactly where you're going, and you're going to get this guy to go with you directly there. Now, Bbaa means again, you could be doing about 3 other things, but either way, you would like this person to come with you. You might be stopping. Both of you might stop somewhere else along the way and ask somebody else to come with. And so Bbaa set up. The word would change. The word would change. Bbaa set up. It wouldn't be Bbaa wiijiiwshin anymore, because you could say Bbaa wiijiiwshin. Say that, but Bbaa set up. It would turn out to that way, because now you're a group going in that direction. The word Bbaa, it can be adapted to a lot of different words. And Bbaa Biidawishin, meaning I'm going to go and hunt around. I don't know yet where I'm going to go. I don't have a favorite spot to just sit up in a tree or anything like that. Like some of the white people I know. They don't go in the bush to go and sit in the tree. We just sneak around and get our deer. Some of my non-native friends that ask me to go hunting, we usually go out in the bush or in the field someplace, and we go up in a tree, and we stand and we sit there. And I want to tell a story that and that's something else too. When we're out in the bush, I want to talk and everything like that, and then well, if me and another person are walking along the Bbaa, we usually tell each other stories as we're going up in the bush. We look at the same time. After all, we see a deer and he is listening to us. He's what are you talking about? I'm just kidding. But the voice in the bush does not scare an animal. The animal already knew you were coming, whether you were whispering or not. It's like a human being. Most of the time, if you're walking in the bush by yourself, and all of a sudden you feel somebody looking at you, you look around, and sure enough, there's somebody looking at you. Because you catch the vibrations, you catch the energy of that person looking at you. When you put your eyes on that person that's walking below you, you see him, that's when he knows you see him. You look up. Sometimes you look directly where you are. So animals are the same way. Any questions, any comments on that? Has anybody ever experienced what I'm talking about? Anybody else? Or am I the only one that has that much perception? I mean, in some classes I'm teaching, I have a lot of fun because people want to argue. Well, I never gone, that never happened to me. I don't believe that. And we have a good communication. We talk to each other about it. Gidaa wiijiiw, ninim, no. You're already decided. Gidaa, when you say Gidaa, wiijiiw, ninim, no. Gidaa, meaning it's up to you whether I can come or not. I'm not going to force myself on you. The word Gidaa decides that. The language that I'm speaking of, the language I'm speaking in, it always bases itself on politeness, courtesy. And not too often you order somebody around. It's up to them whether you want to come. The ethics of non-interference is very, very, very much used in our language. There is no judging of a human being. My son works in a place called the legal system that he's working with, and it falls on our old way of looking at helping a person. There was punishment to a person hurting another person in our community a long time ago. The punishment for hitting a child in anger was usually death. The punishment for hitting a woman in anger was also death. In some places it was less serious. In some tribes, when you hit a child in anger or hit a woman in anger, you were banned from your tribe. You were banned from your village. You were thrown out with a couple of days' food and your weapons. You were sent out, and you were told not to come back. It was just as good as death, because a long time ago you didn't really survive very well anymore. But you were given that chance, in case you went. So because of that, probably our language holds a lot of, I guess you would call compassion. The language holds compassion. You do have a way of being able to be kind in any instance. As you learn the language, you will learn that there's no word for bad boy. Today, because of the colonialism and so forth, when we say bad, mjijiiwshin, today we say that means bad boy, and it does not mean bad boy. Mjijiiwshin means the behavior you're looking at comes from somewhere. Someone who taught that boy that behavior. And in the area of restorative justice that Bronson works at, it's called restorative justice. It means that we're trying to go back to the understanding of our laws. Restorative justice means if somebody has hurt themselves, or if there's someone being hurt, that means the community is at fault for this. Because this person was raised in this community. So that means that one of us in this community is at fault for this person ending up the way he did. And so a long time ago, we used to have these big circles. The victim and everybody in the community, and the perpetrator or the person that did something, they went together into the circle. And everybody else came into the circle. Sometimes if a person stayed out of the circle, he was punished in a sense more than the person that had hurt something. Because what he was doing when he didn't come to the circle was he was excluding himself from the community. He says, it's not my fault, so I don't have to go. Yet he is part of that circle, part of the community. So they're trying to do that to be able to put the blame where it belongs. Because when somebody is hurting themselves, if somebody gets hurt in the community, it is the law of the community. Still stick together. When we get together, we're called and Biidoon, place of the heart. So when we talk about the place of the heart, we have to think about the community as a whole. Any questions, any comments? Maybe if I did this with music or something. I'm trying to be funny. I can imagine what John Bernstein feels when he says something funny and nobody laughs. Laughing when my jokes are. Anything pertaining to these words anybody want to talk about? Does everybody understand the meaning of what do they call that? The ethics of non-interference. Does everybody understand it? Yeah. Yeah. Only so much. Okay, let's explain that.
Sorry, excuse me.
Yes.
So you mentioned like non-interference. So when do you interfere in the community?
When do I interfere in the community? A lot of times when I'm asked to do something with tobacco, sometimes the person comes up to me and says, you know, that's not how I do that, Lorney. I do that in a different way. And I says, oh yeah, that's good. You keep on doing it that way. And I'll keep on doing my way. And I said, well, no, that's not what I meant. He says, this is the way we should be doing that. And I said, well, I don't remember giving you any tobacco to be my teacher. So leave me alone. I have the right to say that. A lot of times, especially the work I do, and the way that I am, kind of haywire, I guess. I get corrected a lot. When you have the confidence of having been raised by grandparents on a 1,000-year-old etiquette, you do have a little bit of confidence among any society that you come face to face with, because you know that there have been about 3 or 4 translations that took place in this person knowing what he knows. With me, my lessons and my teachings have been direct from a person that spoke the language for thousands of years. And they told it to me, who knew only the language that this person taught me. So usually when somebody tries to argue with me, I usually say, okay. And like I said, I am up in age, and I have very, very seldom ever corrected somebody. And it's always my job to do that. And I've been given tobacco. I will correct somebody. But I very, very seldom will correct somebody. Because it's, to me, when you're taught something like that by grandparents, you're young, you tend to listen. Even in modern way of life, you do. If you see a person go walking by and you say, where are you going? He says, I'm going to the store. He says, oh, okay. And I wave. And I don't say, well, the store's over that way. I won't say that. Because he might be going to the store that way somewhere. Or he might know a shortcut to get to that store. I don't, and it's not because I'm any better than anybody, or nothing like that. It just simply means when you learn something at that age, it's an automatic thing. When a child sits in a Atikameksheng and he just sits there, a Biidoon, it means he just says, just there, because he can't move, he can't walk, and he just sits there and watches what's going on. And he sees an older person walk into the room about 10 times during the day, and he's sitting there. And he gets older and everything. When he gets older and he's able to walk around, he'll be sitting on a chair in that same room someday, and an old person will walk in, and he'll immediately stand up because that person walked in the room. Because he's been watching somebody else stand up whenever an older person walks in the room. That person too will, a little guy like that, he'll stand up right away. Person will walk through. When a person behaves in the way of an elder, that person will know that it's okay to behave in that manner. There are a lot of kids nowadays that follow, like when I was teaching people inside a prison, I was teaching these guys, your child loves you. To your child, you are a dad. You are daddy to a child. And it doesn't matter what you do in your life, that child will take notice of what you do. And he'll look at you as you're doing what you're doing. And that child will do what you're doing. Whether it's good or bad, your child will follow you. And knowing that, what are you going to do with your life? Knowing that your child is watching. And I learned that from the old people when I was about 3 years old. Today, they got the 7 grandfather teachings. That's really great. And they do workshops, teach these teachings. In my home, you did the grandfather teachings because you saw your grandfather doing what he was doing. We didn't have a word called teachings in those days. You did the motions, and you did what you had to do to teach that child. You became the 7 grandfather teachings because you knew the child was going to be watching you. Which made things a little bit easier and so forth. a lot of the language that I'm teaching you, it comes from knowing and comes from hearing the words that I'm saying. When you hear the words I'm saying, and you have the teaching behind them. A lot of times when you hear that word, you'll see the picture. Nobody will have to teach you that word anymore. It'll automatically come to you. Any comments or questions on that? Yes.
The comments. I'm wondering, I have two, but the first one is, so in the words that you've taught, today, and I think in the other words that you've taught us, there's the ethic of non-interference, which is inherent in the words, right? It's inherent in the language. Is there an actual word for non-interference?
Nkwenmawshin. Don't get in the way, because don't get in the way, because that's when you're jumping in and correcting somebody, you're getting in the way. And to you, it might be the right way because you know that way, but actually it could be the wrong way. I've always liked the way that Don Bernstein explains that word and the difference between non-native people and native people. I laugh so hard because he does the picture. He shows you the picture. He says, yeah, he says, the non-native world, says, guy's walking down the road, you know, and you picture he's walking and all of a sudden, you know, he falls. With him here, bang, lands on the ice. And Don, that guy, that non-native person runs over. So, oh, are you okay? Holy smoke! Here, let me help you up. Huh? In the native world, you're walking along, and all of a sudden, fall down, bang, right on the ground. The guy looks, oh, looks at him. Guy gets up real away, looks around, gets up right away. You know, that guy, man, he looks so funny going up in there, and he looks so funny because he made sure nobody saw him fall down. And the guy just laughs at the guy. You know? That's the difference. That thing's a non-interference. Every time I see that, I don't know how many times I've seen it now. I usually every time. Sometimes he sees me in the audience and he'll say the joke just to see me laughing. And then he'll turn around. Yeah, the excitement of brotherhood. Any questions, comments? Please, no, I'm kidding. Close to that time anyway. One of the things that I become very aware of as I'm going through this thought of teaching, and the summer is coming pretty close. Hey, Kevin. And I'm thinking about that, and thinking about what happened last year, and so forth. And I think about the fellowship of what happened, and the fellowship of having gone out into the wilderness, and also thinking on my own because I am eventually probably gonna split up on my own and go and teach this somewhere. And I'll be out in the wild. And probably get a couple of helpers and so forth. I've started my own business and sort of thing. Something that doesn't need my attention all the time. And just putting together something that we call passive income. It just, it's like me, it just grows on its own. But it's passive income and apply it to working with people that I'm going to be working with. And because I really, what I want to be able to preserve is the original meaning of lots of these words. Because they are so full of color. And also, it's an attitude. It's an attitude. There is not a single day that goes by that I don't speak directly to Creator. When I say miigwech, I'm speaking directly to Creator. And in that speaking about miigwech, I'm also saying that neither one of us, whoever I'm with, neither one of us brought anything into this world. Everything that we've eaten, everything that we've used, everything that we've worn, everything that we've seen was already put here by Creator. I may bring somebody some medicine. After I put tobacco down, take the medicine, I might bring that medicine to somebody else. And that person will say miigwech. And I will say, yeah, miigwech. We are both saying miigwech to the same being. And you say that about 10 times. You're no longer aware of being needy. You are no longer aware of being needy. You might have to, well, I might have to walk 10 miles because my car wouldn't start again after I drove it 10 miles in the bush. Might have to walk 10 miles out to the bush. Again, I will say miigwech for this opportunity to see so much force. You know what I mean? It's just it gets inside. A lot of times I'll say, geez, I wish I would know this when I was younger. Even the many times I argued about something. Why did I argue? Why was it so important that I be right? It wasn't worth feeling bad for even 5 or 6 minutes. So why did I argue? Why did I have to be right? I think about that. And I think about how good it is to have a language. Because when I'm angry at somebody else, say, I'll just think in Ojibwe, and I'm no longer angry. Because there is no judgment in my language. There's no judgment of another human being. There's no words to blame another human being. When I do the program up north, and I talk about residential school, and I hear people screaming and crying. Look what they did to us. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm saying, this is what happened to us. This is what happened to all of us. Because what happened to us also happened to the people that did things. It happened to all of us. In that, you need to be able to think in that language, to be able to think. Wiijiiwshin. If you can say wiijiiwshin, you're saying this is what happened to all of us. Because you can't hurt somebody else without it coming back and hurting you. It's impossible. It's pretty neat. There, go, come on, hurt me some more. Go ahead. I want to see you hurt. You know, I'm just kidding, I'm making a joke of it. But no, it's like a little kid and a parent says, this is gonna hurt me more than it hurt you. Hit me harder, daddy. Why did you get that joke? Any comments before we finish? Oh, you wish. Okay. Oh, yeah. We're gonna, I was gonna include it.